When I say stop chasing results, stop chasing purpose, and stop chasing outcomes, there's confusion often. People are either triggered and say, well, that's ridiculous. How am I going to do it then? Or they're intrigued and maybe a little confused. The reason is that this approach is the opposite, at least for me, of what I did my entire life, as well as what I see people teaching entrepreneurs. What I want to do is share my experience of how I made this transition and perhaps provide some ideas that will be helpful to you so you can find your own way. Why is this worth doing? Because over time, the chasing is the problem. The feeling of pushing for success, rolling that boulder up there, pushing that boulder up the hill and trying to make it happen. I call that the struggle, effort, and challenge phase of being an entrepreneur. It's phase one. Now, to get into phase one is a big deal. What precedes phase one? The inability to struggle, the inability to make an effort, and the inability to be up for the challenge. You got to enter stage one before stage one becomes a problem. You enter phase one to get things moving. It's important. What I'm saying is there's a moment where it doesn't matter. It becomes exhausting. The problem for me was I didn't know there was another way. And I'm going to talk about the other way so you can start using it. And you're not going to copy me. You're going to do it in your own way. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how not to do what I did. Let's go back to why. Why bother? When you give up on the game, which many of us are playing, I think 96% of entrepreneurs are playing this game that I used to play. I call it the game of winning. What am I trying to win? I'm trying to win a victory over myself, and I'm trying to win a victory over my company and my market. This is the working on yourself phase. This is, I got to work on my mindset. I have to work on my business. I have to work on my skills. I have to learn how to consistently struggle with issues within myself or within my market. I have to learn how to make an effort without it feeling like a struggle. That's an advancement. And I have to learn how to rise to the challenge regardless of how hard it is. Phase one. What happens when you kind of get there? It doesn't work anymore. That's my experience. Some will spend the rest of their lives there. I'm glad I didn't. Can this stage be skipped? Yes, I think it can, but it can't be ignored. If you can't struggle with things, if you can't make an effort and you can't be up for the challenge, you're not going to be able to do what I'm suggesting. What I am saying, however, is that the approach I'm taking can replace that approach even if you haven't mastered that yet. So what is this approach? I shifted to a different way by paying attention and being aware of myself and the environment I'm in a different way. What happened was that I felt a sense of opportunities coming to me without pushing for them or forcing them to occur. I started to feel a sense of enjoyment about what I was doing, regardless of whether I enjoyed the work. I started to like the things that were harder, even more than the things that were easy, because it felt right. That's enjoyment. The third stage of this second phase is purpose and meaning, where I had a feeling what I'm doing matters. It's important. I call this phase thriving. Thriving is when the opportunities are coming because you're paying attention to yourself. Your attention shifts from out in the world of how do I figure out what they're doing so I can do it and copying, to releasing the awareness inside yourself about what you want. This changed everything for me. Now, I'm not going to get into the third phase here where all of a sudden you get some mastery over this challenge or this opportunity, enjoyment, and meaning phase called thriving. And then it's like, well, that doesn't work. But we're not going to talk about that here. And then you enter into the third phase, which I call impact.